These massive piers are amazing. They stand strong, but without being fixed to the seabed, so they can move and withstand earthquakes. And they are massive, 90 metres across at the base, the biggest in the world. So, all the engineers had to do now was link these super piers together, and they built themselves a bridge. Simple.
The piers really are awesome. But they're obviously only part of the story. Their purpose is to hold up the bridge deck, which is what it's all about.
A trip to Antirian for the people of Rion used to mean a 40-minute ferry journey. The bridge has turned that into a 7-minute drive. It really has transformed the lives of people on the northern and southern coasts, becoming just part of their everyday ritual. On a normal day, 12,000 cars might use it. On a busy day, that could rise to 30,000.
That's a lot of traffic. So the bridge deck has 4 lanes as well as 2 safety lanes that run for almost 3 kilometres in each direction.
It's mammoth. And if the engineers fixed it to any of the piers, and those piers then moved in an earthquake, which the gravel allows them to do, it could buckle or break. Not good. Right, what we need now is another of my earthquake demonstrations. This one is going to require a little imagination. Bear with me. This is my road deck, which I'm going to fit, well, to this boat. But for the purposes of this, the boat represents the piers of the bridge. So that's the piers here supporting the road deck, concrete and steel fixed to it solidly. Now we're going to have an earthquake. For that I need muscle, so I'm going to break out the Herefordshire Special Ballet Squad. In you come then, lads, please, come on. Right, they're going to be the muscle to make the earthquake. I'm going to be the traffic on the road deck, fixed solidly to the piers. So, getting into place. I'm the traffic on the deck. Oh no, I hope there isn't an earthquake shortly. Go on, let's let it rip. As an experience, it's unpleasant. But if this were a road deck on a bridge, and I were heavy traffic on it, clearly the stresses that the materials will be subject to, catastrophic. It's not going to work. One earthquake, the whole thing could collapse.
To save the bridge deck from the violent and chaotic movements of an earthquake, the engineers needed to build it in a way that allowed it to move independently of the piers, which is where sailors and their sleeping arrangements come in.
Christopher Columbus first encountered hammocks in South America, and he brought them back to Europe. And early sailors very quickly discovered they were quite handy things for making life more bearable on board. Because, well, ships weren't the most sophisticated of devices then. Things could get pretty rough. But no matter how rough the seas, the hammock would isolate them from the movements of the ship and make life just about bearable. They didn't know it, but in fact a hammock is, well, it's a kind of pendulum. And it has a steady rate it wants to move at, which it will do regardless of what's going on around it. And it meant sailors were more comfortable, and what's good enough for them is actually good enough for the bridge.
So just as a pendulum, or rather a hammock, swings gently on board a ship in rough seas, it ought to make my ride on the earthquake simulator a bit smoother too.
Here is my modified bridge. Remember, the boat represents the bridge piers, the structure. This hammock now represents the deck, slung between them. Right, I need to break out the buoys to hold the bridge steady first of all, please. And then, I hope there isn't another earthquake. Right, I'm getting onto the road deck, which now is slung pendulum style, just like a hammock. Goodness, what if an earthquake were to occur right now when I'm on this bridge? And actually it is already, and straight away. What's happening here is the hammock, the pendulum suspension, is isolating me from the movement of the piers. Even when things get pretty bad, I mean, this is a pretty disastrous earthquake we're experiencing right now. The pendulum is turning chaotic movement into something a bit more predictable and a lot more gentle. And I can imagine straight away how this would stay standing.
The Rion engineers borrowed that same pendulum principle to help earthquake-proof their bridge. Just like a hammock, the deck of the Rion Bridge is fully suspended from the top of the piers. It's unique in all the world.